The Old West was filled with legendary characters, some like Wild Bill Hickok, Doc Holliday, Wyatt Earp, and Annie Oakley, were celebrated over and over in books and film and music. Others, like Bill Tillman and Bass Reeves, for various reasons, were all but forgotten. But back in their time, the exploits of these lawmen were the stuff of legend. Our story today centers on one of the greatest of these forgotten lawmen, Bass Reeves. Bass Reeves was an African American, and the prevailing view of the early American press was not open to an American hero of color. Thus, sadly, Reeves' exploits received little of the plaudits given to his lighter-skinned contemporaries. But I assure you, he was as resourceful and respected a lawman as any of his peers. Let me take you back and tell you the tale of a most daring adventure pitting Bass Reeves against the notorious Brunter brothers.
Damn! Mr. Bass Reeves! How in the name of all that's holy are you?
Marshal Earp, I've been better. And I suspect I've looked better too.
At our age, we should simply avoid mirrors.
I've been chasing these Brunter brothers halfway across the territory, and I've yet to corral them.
The Brunters. Here.
I swear they are as elusive as snakes.
Well, if you don't mind the company, I'd like to help you find them. Maybe we could put them out of our collective misery.
I was hoping you'd say that. Mind sharing some of your coffee? Sad was the day McKinley died. The wagon broke down and the horses cried.
Cheers.
The Brunter brothers weren't cowards. Well, at least not in the normal sense of the word. I mean, they might shoot you in the back one day and then straight up gunfight you the next. They might steal your horse, leave you 50 miles from water. You know, that would be something they could possibly do. But then again, they may just walk right up to you and rob you. Like many of their ilk, Frank, William, and Joe Brunter didn't have the best of parental upbringing. Their mother had died of typhoid when the brothers were young, and the Brunters endured a quarrelsome, ne'er-do-well father who liked to drink brown liquor. Amos Brunter, in fact, often bullied his own kids, although he was partial to his eldest, Frank. Amos would encourage his favorite son to set the two younger brothers against one another, so fights were inevitable. And Amos would invariably find a not-too-gentle way to break up the ruckus he himself had instigated.
I'll break these idiots. Break them up, you dang fools! Get up, you morons!
Curiously, the death of their father proved difficult for the brothers. I suppose the guidance of a fool is better than no guidance at all. The three squandered what little money they inherited on rot-gut whiskey. Even Frank, clearly the brightest of the three, found that he often made unwise choices under the influence. Once after drinking his fill, Frank was spoiling for a fight. Eric Lundquist would have proven to be an unwise choice had Frank not come to his senses. The giant blacksmith reported the dispute to local authorities, but charges, unfortunately, were not pressed.
stand up, let's fight, all right? Let's stand up, fight right here. Here, cut you out. All right. You again, farm boy. Hey, boy. Hey, farm boy. Hey, there you go. You stand up behind that horse. You're gonna be fine. You're gonna.
And Martha Kane. The Kanes were on their way to a church social when random shots and screams spooked their sorrel mare. This resulted in an overturned buggy and badly bruised passengers.
Get the stuff. Check him. Get his watch.
Mr. Kane was not one to carry much money, so the Brunters ended up with little more than Mr. Kane's pocket watch and his wife's heirloom brooch.
They're saps.
Joe did take a fancy to Mr. Kane's derby, and he kept it. And to make the endeavor worth it, the highwayman decided to keep the mare as well. William, perhaps remembering his dear departed mother, returned the lady's brooch. Regardless, the Brunters were now officially outlaws. Every morning, Wallace Wilcox, like clockwork, left his saloon to deposit the previous night's receipts at Union Bridge's only bank. On April 5, 1886, the Brunter brothers waited. They were hoping to relieve him of his money. What they didn't know was that Mr. Wilcox was not someone easily intimidated. A retired cavalry captain, he had often set fear aside to engage the enemy. And this morning, he certainly wasn't going to let three shabby cowboys rob him without a fight. He threw his case on the ground, and townfolk heard someone yell, "Come and get it, boys." Evidently, he went for his concealed Navy Colt, but it got snagged in the shoulder holster, giving the brothers just enough time to cut him down. Furthermore, they severely wounded Sheriff Buck Sweet. The boys' sins now included murder. So, were they cowards? Some days yes, some days no. What they really were pushers. They pushed people, they pushed fate, they pushed temptation, they just pushed. They had no nuance in their life. And that lack of nuance led them to make some really bad decisions, especially on that fateful day when they ran into a lawman named Bass Reeves.
Let's split up, double our chances. They're either toward Dilson Caves or hole up near Pine Grove. Take Dilson, Wyatt. I'll head south to the Grove.
That's a deal. Let's say I meet you here in 2 nights or so.
And no heroics, Wyatt, if you spot him. Adios. Meet you back here in 2 mañanas.
Bass Reeves served for 32 years as Deputy U.S. Marshal in Native American territories, namely Oklahoma. He had a reputation for being fearless, and despite arresting over 3,000 felons and killing 14 outlaws in defense of his own life, he was never shot. It is said that several times his hat was shot off the top of his head. I've actually read accounts where different articles of his clothing had bullet holes in it. Like his duster would have a hole in it from a bullet, or his hat would get shot off. But he was never wounded in any of those gun battles. He always got his man. He arrested over 3,000 felons, and it's said that there's only one person that may have escaped being apprehended by Bass Reeves. He never shot a man when it wasn't necessary, and they hadn't tried to kill him first. He always acted in self-defense. Another thing about Bass Reeves is that he never changed his policies or his philosophies or his treatment of people based on race, ethnicity, even familial ties. Everybody was equal under the law. Not only did he arrest the minister who baptized him, he also arrested his own son after the young man murdered his wife in a fit of jealousy. When Reeves was appointed a marshal by Judge Parker, the hanging judge, the judge reminded him he would be in a position to serve as a deputy to show the lawful as well as the lawless that a black man was the equal of any other law enforcement officer on the frontier. He, being in the Midwest, was one of the few black men that could actually arrest a white man during that time. Black law enforcement officers were a rarity in other parts of the country, but more common in Indian Territory and surrounding states like Texas. Despite movies' depiction of the Old West, 25% of cowboys in Texas were African American. Because of the reputation Bass earned as a marshal who was honest, effective, and doggedly persistent, the Chief Deputy U.S. Marshal of the Western District, Bud Ledbetter, called Bass one of the bravest men this country has ever known. He was born into slavery, and upon escaping and gaining his freedom, he had never learned to read or write. However, when he would get a warrant for bounty or arrest, he would memorize certain characteristics about the paperwork and then have someone read to him the specifics. And it is said that he never made a mistake on one of his arrest warrants.
Keep on going. Go ahead. It's on out there. It's gonna be a while.
Out that way.
Oh, he's way out there. Just keep on going.
Follow the tracks.
Oh, just go. Go. You're never gonna find him. Ain't no way. Go. Have fun.
Other way.
Yeah, you wish you had a gun. Here, let me get one for you. You think that? I think the other way.
No, follow the tracks.
Yeah, keep on going. Go ahead. It's on out there.
Don't shoot, Wyatt. It's me.
Well, ain't that something? Brunter!
Yep.
I thought you said no heroics.
No choice.
Why the gag?
Talks too much.
Understood.
Any more complaints? You can join your neighbor.
So you gonna tell me what happened, or keep me hanging?
I ran into the brothers at the Grove. They was breaking camp, so there was no time for me to come get you. Joe here was feeling somewhat perplexed. Seems his horse disappeared, and he was still too much addled from all that rot gut. Joe was about 40 yards down over the hill. Jake and Bill was gathering up their gear, so I worked my way around to where the horses were tied, and I set them loose. They were cussing like sailors. Jake and Bill come up the hill right into my gun. I hands over the arrest warrant to Jake. He raises his long gun, and I dropped that sucker right where he stood. And that gave Bill time to draw, but in his excitement, he shot low, hitting me in the belt buckle.
belt buckle. You hurt?
Like the dickens. I got the bruises to prove it.
You don't have to show me. I mean,
I shot second. Bill left this world quick and easy. Our friend there hears the commotion, sobers up quick, sees me with my gun belt around my knees, rushes at me like a rank bull, and I'm standing there, gun empty, moving like a dance hall girl in a too-tight dress. When Joe gets over to me, I stop. I brace myself against a tree, and I club that sucker as hard as I could.
shut up, Joe. You're ruining my picture.
Oh no, Joe's right. That wasn't a very sporting thing for me to do. But frankly, right about now, I ain't in a sporting mood. Just one more word.
You know, out in California, they're making moving pictures about the old days. Hell, they even called me to be a consultant. Tell my story, say, put it on a screen. You ought to get in on some of that action. I mean, this story here, you know, people ought to see this.
Forget it, Wyatt. Nobody puts a black man in a motion picture unless he's shining somebody's boots. And I ain't shined nobody's boots since 1865.
Well. Even still, this story here belongs in the flickers.
Sure, the day I wake up as a red-headed Irishman.
As you may know, Wyatt Earp became a Hollywood film consultant the last decade or so of his life. His stories, both historical and fictional, have been told on film hundreds of times. Bass Reeves' legend, however, has remained, for the most part, fallow. But history has a way of eventually finding its legends, especially when, like Bass Reeves, the legend needs no exaggeration.